It's time for another episode of Cockpit Reviews, where I take a look and critique your home cockpits. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I have three depending on where in the world you are, new cockpits that we're gonna take a look at today. And as always, I just want to mention, if you want your home cockpit, regardless of whether it's a complete DIY, if it's something you just spend a lot of time on, if you just think you've done something different, send it to me, downtoearthastronomy@gmail.com, and if you're lucky, you might get featured in a future episode. First one, very simple. I only have a single picture, but there's a lot going on here. This comes from us from Purple Pisastapam on Discord. Hope I got that right. And of course, this is his home cockpit. Now, first of all, let's just take a look at the flight gear. Some kind of chair. I've been trying to see if I could identify what that is, but I'm not really sure. But it looks like some kind of racing seat. Is it on wheels? I'm not sure if it's on wheels, but at least I'm pretty sure he's moving this out of the way when he's not using it. I've seen these compact setups. I actually showcased some gear from Next Level Racing that's built something specifically for this, where you have it on caster wheel. It's quite nice. Thrustmaster setup, as we can see here, we have the Thrustmaster there and the accompanying throttle over on the other side, mounted directly to the chair. And then it looks like he's using what you would usually be using for a center-mounted stick if you're flying helicopters. He's using that, it seems, to send. Oh no, hold on, that's the pole. Where did that pole? No, oh, hold on. My bad. No, that pole goes here. So there's a pole over here behind the joystick that goes up and then across. And that's what's holding up the keyboard, which looks like something AR tech. Relatively small form factor keyboard, but then you have attached a trackpad out here with a more like laptop style, you know, where you have the left mouse button underneath and a trackpad there. And then it looks like he has an extra button box up here with some arrow keys and things. And then field notes. I love to see written notes. Not enough people do that. I always have post-it notes like right here next to me. I always have a little block of post-it notes because when I'm sitting and playing, I need to remember to write it down and then just have it on post-it notes instead of alt-tapping out. So much more. Field notes, awesome, love to see it. But I also noticed Logitech down here, Logitech pedals underneath. This one, I believe, is his PC. It looks more like a server rack. Not really a rack, it's too narrow, but I assume that's his PC because I can't see where else it would be. So I assume that is it. Very interesting case. Now the reason why I say that I think he's moving, you can see he has at least two monitors. We actually see the arm back here mounted there. At least for one of the monitors, is that we can see here he has a second mouse and a second keyboard sitting here on the desk. So I'm pretty sure that he pulls the monitors forward and then he takes this chair, puts it in front, and then he's in flight mode. He can play his games on this center monitor there, and that one for third-party tools. And then probably when he used the desk for not playing Space Sims, I assume this chair then moved out of the way. That's why I thought it might be on caster wheels. Move a normal office chair in, push the monitors back, and you're back on your normal mouse and keyboard. I actually had a similar setup before I have my current one, where I did something very similar by moving monitors back and forth. It worked, and I am wondering if all of this is because I can see. Oh no, that's a US power cord, isn't it? Wonder if that's powering because of the way it's just lying there across the floor. I mean, I know it's not the most cable managed setup, but I'm thinking, how is this plugged in? Does he have a USB hub hidden somewhere, so he just plugs in power and a USB connection, and then that thing is plugged in, or how does that work? I'm not really sure, but I would think that might be power for a powered USB hub, because you're running both keyboards and all that. I'm not sure you could draw that much power over a normal USB cable for that many peripherals and LEDs and stuff. Often when people have problems with their joysticks and they're using USB hubs, if they're not using one that can deliver enough power, that's often the issue. That they just can't deliver enough power to all these peripherals. They will turn on and function, but you might see weird behavior, ghost presses, like suddenly non-responsive, stuff like that. That's not uncommon to see when you don't deliver enough power to these kind of things. So that's why I think he might be doing something like that. But anyway, an interesting setup. I like the color coordination, keeping everything green. Awesome color to choose, so I like to see it. Thanks for sending it in. Okay, this one has some really cool features that I really like. This one comes from Melissa Miandios. Very DIY, built with some wooden, I don't know if that's 2x4s or whatever it is. Wrote in the email that apparently a basic upholstery is not so hard. So this is like home something that the person here did, him or herself. Said that they have some armrests from a couch that they were decommissioning, and then they took the armrest off. That's going to be screwed on the side for kind of giving, well, armrests. But we have the armrests here that's not yet mounted, but there you can get the idea. That's going to be screwed on there to the side. Okay, I don't think we have any shots of the underside of this. Obviously, a VR setup, as we can see here. There is underneath the seat. Let me just find it again. There is a Arduino attached that then goes in and reads the journal file for Elite, where it's like an event file that shows what's happening in Elite. And that Arduino is then connected to what's called a butt kicker. This is like a little vibration thing that will vibrate the seat. And apparently some custom code was written that then goes in and read that file from Elite, and when certain events happen in the game, it like shakes the chair. For instance, like takeoffs and landings. So whenever you just take off, the whole thing vibrates a little, or when you touch down, you get a little vibration in the seat as well. Because usually when people use vibration, it's not always like that well integrated into the game. The way people usually do it is that they go and hook it up to the audio, and then basically it just functions as a subwoofer. But instead of creating sound, it creates vibrations in the chair. That's how people often do it with games that are not supported. So when you have a deep rumble, then the seat rumbles, and you kind of get that. So it kind of feels like it's part of the game. With this, when you begin to write these custom things that can go in and read the files from Elite, and you can make it do different types of different degrees of rumble depending on different situations, that's pretty cool. I haven't actually heard of anyone who's done this before. If there is, let me know, because it's a really cool idea going in and working with the game directly. Now, I want to take a look at this, what's called the sidecar. Here it is. Again, DIY, made of what looks like some... Is that a googly eye? I think that's a googly eye, yeah. Just some basic buttons. We have a little joystick. We have some knobs, dials, and a slider. And I've seen these things before with previous cockpits I reviewed, where people built these that in the beginning looks very simple, like a few buttons and a joystick. And they showed me the progress as it evolves, and they just get more and more complicated, more and more buttons, and at the end you have like a full control panel. So I'm sure if we get to look at this cockpit like a few years down the line, then it's going to be completely different. I'm just sitting here reading through the email again, and it's just the amount of like botching in a good way, that you just taking different components, just smack together and make it work. Obviously the joystick was a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro. This, the pedal here comes from an old Sony dictation machine. Not even sure what that is, but now they are Space Sim foot pedals. I love this kind of thing where people just take, oh, my neighbor, we had some old couch, we can take the sides from that, and we learned to do upholstery, and I love this. I love when we have these cockpits where people just make things work with what they have, because everybody can make a nice extreme cockpit by just throwing money at it. But when you build something that works for you, and again, this shows so much passion for the hobby, and I love that. I mean, that puts a smile on my face. Okay, next one comes to us from Commander Danes Bond. I love that name, by the way. First of all, we can see here that he's watching he's watching last episode. I can tell it was the last cockpit I reviewed, and he clearly been watching that. He's like, oh, I can do that too. He was playing Elite, he was watching downtoearthastronomy, and he was like, I want to send in my cockpit. And he did, which is awesome. Okay, it's in the dark. I think we have some pictures in the light too, so we can see light up around the mouse pad. Light up here in the cabinet, so I think this is a cabinet PC. First time I think we've seen this on the Cockpit Reviews, where people build it. Hopefully we get some pictures from inside. I also noticed left-handed mouse. Very uncommon. I'm left-handed, but I mean, still have the mouse in my right hand, and it's just a thing, you know, it's always been on the right side. Okay, yes, good. We have it in the daylight. We have monitors here on the side. Ooh, is that the joystick? Is that a headphone stand? A headset stand? I think it might be a headset stand. It is a joystick. It is a cyborg joystick. I have not heard of that one before, but yeah, clearly works. Also, by the way, love the Tux plushie. Awesome. Thumbs up for the Tux Plushie. I really want to see that we get some some views from inside that cabinet. Oh yeah, there we go. This is what we're looking for. NVIDIA GTX 970, 4 gigs of RAM. Wow, that's it's a 12-year-old PC. How's that working out with the new graphics in Odyssey? I'm wondering. The processor's an i5, 2500K, 16 gigs of RAM. Fair enough. That's a lot of RAM for a 12-year-old PC. I think 12 years ago, common was probably 4 and sometimes 8. This down here, I am not sure what those are. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 bays of something, and we can see blue cables coming out of them, going into this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, which has power from up here. I assume that's power. And then there's 2 other things plugged into it. Now, I don't think it's power because we can see here from those plugs, that looks like, yes, he also says that he is from France. So these are the EU plugs. So that's definitely not a power distribution panel. That would be very uncommon to see that. So it's some kind of data breakout thing. Is it USB? I don't know. Does he write what this is? Oh, hold on, I think I know. He says here that he has 2 times RAID 0 SSDs. That's probably what it is then. So RAID 0 is when you stripe data across 2 disks. So you basically take 2 disks or more if you want to. But often you take 2 disks and you would just say those now function as 1. And that has a benefit that you now have 2 disks, mean you get twice the read and write speed from them, theoretically. But also comes with the downside that if you lose one of the disk, all data is gone. There's nothing here that's in terms of like redundancy or any like security. So if one fails, everything is gone. But since he's running 2 RAID 0, so I'm guessing that maybe 1 and 2 is set up on RAID 0, and 2 and 3 and 4 is set up on RAID 0. So they're both striped. You get the performance from 2 disks, and then maybe the 1-2 combo is in a RAID 1 array with the 3-4 combo, so you have a RAID 1 on top of 2 RAID 0s. That RAID 1, by the way, is where you mirror it, so they're just copies of each other. There you have redundancy, so if one dies, the other one can take over. You get all the performance benefits, and you get the security of having the data mirrored. Of course, you only get half the capacity since the 2 of the sets are mirrored. I wonder if that's what he's doing. That's my guess. Cool build, nice to see. I think everybody at some point had thought, oh, cool to build a PC into a cabinet. One thing I am wondering though, can we just see the front again? Yeah, it seems like it's just a straight through directly into the fan. That means there's no filtering on this. And even though there's no filtering on this at all, it looks clean. Now, I'm wondering if he cleaned it out for the photo shoot here, but I would think that drawing air into a cabinet like that with this many wires and things that the dust can collect on, even though you then like pull it out the other end, I still think that dust would collect without filters on, because that's always the issue when you're thinking about building a cabinet PC like this. Like, how do you filter your air to prevent dust? But it seems to not be. Either it's not an issue here, or he did a very thorough job of cleaning it. And once again, huge thank you for sending in the cockpit. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, it could be cool to get my cockpit showed in the future. As I said, don't delay, do it now. Take some pictures of your home cockpit setup. Write a short description to me about what it is you're doing, what kind of hardware you're running. Doesn't have to be a novel. Just write me a few lines about what it is you're using and send them to downtoearthastronomy@gmail.com. And if you're lucky, you might get featured in a future episode. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.